Where
He's like, you look like you should be twisting it on a railroad track.
this is the church.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right.
The water.
All right. A long time no see, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah.
Go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Tarpon Springs Sustainability Committee this Thursday, May 19th at 6 p.m. Can we please get a roll call?
Chairperson Dory Larson,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Paul Robinson,
Here.
Member Taylor Mandalou,
Here.
Member Denise Menino, Member Karen Gallagher, Member Robin Sanger,
Here.
and Member Carol Mickett.
Here.
All right, so we do have 2 folks missing, but look, we've got a quorum with our alternates, so we will go ahead and proceed. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from March 17th to 22, and also April 15th, 2021. So can
Chair
I-
Larson?
Yes,
So are Carol and I voting for this?
yes,
I mean, we're voting for this entire meeting?
correct,
Thank you.
yes.
Unless someone comes.
Unless someone shows up, that's true.
Were you in contact? Is the,
Yes, Denise is not feeling well. She will not be here tonight. Karen is out of town. She will
Okay.
not be here.
so y'all are on.
Do you have to excuse them?
I don't think we need to do that, right? I mean, procedurally.
Yeah, I would think that if they didn't request to be excused, then.
Okay, very
Is
good.
that me?
Yeah, we have not in the past
I thought I turned it
excused
off.
without a request, so we probably should be consistent.
All right, so back to item number 1, approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to, or I'd like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes?
A motion to approve those minutes?
I'm going to ask for a clarification of why we're being asked to approve minutes from 13 months ago. I have no problem with with last month's, or 2 months ago, but why 13 months ago?
Because it was never done, there was a lag in capacity of city staff. So Robin is now going back, transcribing those meeting minutes and putting them into written form for us
Okay.
to approve.
The minutes from the 15th of April, you know, there's been a reasonable attempt to incorporate what was said, but it was a longer meeting than what is represented in those pages, I'm sure you're aware. I'll go along with it, but does it really matter?
Well, we need a
after 13
second before we
months?
have a discussion. So can we get a second?
I'll second it because
Okay.
I think the discussion matters.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Does it really matter after 13 months if we approve minutes or not? Because these are abbreviated, of course, and it's a lot of work for you that, you know, if we don't need to dot the i's, do we need to?
I think as a matter of record, we should. And I will say thank you, Dory, for explaining that, but we did have a staffing issue where it was transferred to our department to do the minutes. And Ashley, I don't know if you know, but she's not with us anymore. That was something she was working on, Ashley Tobin. So we have hired somebody new, but we've just got a lot of catching up to do. But we do plan to do more than one, probably per meeting, to catch back up. My goal was somewhere in the 4-month time frame from now, we can get all caught up again.
You know, staffing has been a problem, you know, everywhere for the past 3 years, so sure. Okay,
I want to
that's
say,
reasonable.
fortunately, we have good records between notes, video, tape recordings to reflect. You will note, as you did, that the meetings are more action-type minutes. They're not meant to be verbatim minutes, really capturing the main decisions and points made at the meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second discussion. Can we go ahead and vote? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, moving on to a follow-up item, sustainability news article. Robin, would you like to share with us?
Yes, at our last in-person meeting, March 2022, Karen Gallagher put forth the idea of us getting an article published in the Beacon newspaper to advertise Tarpon Springs not only hiring a sustainability coordinator, but also for our workshops and our survey and our general community engagement activities. So we moved forward and we did get that article published in the Suncoast News, and it was featured in the Beacon. It went to, whoever subscribes to the Beacon, and it was also posted online.
I thought it was very nice.
Yeah, me too. It's very good.
All right, and then the next item is presentation from our Economic Development Director, Karen Lemons, about the STAR section on economy and jobs. So thank you for being with us this evening. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. I wanted to give you an overview of the additional comments to that economy and jobs section from the STAR framework. And I do have a memo that I know you have, so we'll walk through that. If you have any questions or comments or ideas as we walk through it, please let me know. And then before we start, I also want to let you know that the city is doing a economic development element to the comprehensive plan. So we haven't had that before. So we're excited about that. That will be a process similar to our comp plan process that will be coming up. A lot of the issues or items that are in this element will be addressed in that economic development element. So what our goal is there is to create an element that will be equitable, sustainable, asset-based, and will address the 4 emerging themes that came out of the community engagement sessions that were held for the comp plan and the strategic plan. And those main themes were to maintain a small town character, to promote redevelopment and revitalization, to preserve historic, cultural, natural resources, and to address vulnerability to impacts of flood and sea level rise. So when we start this, there'll be more information given to you. There'll be plenty of additional opportunities for public comment, for this committee to bring input, and we hope that it will give more input to the STAR framework and complement all the existing updates that we're doing to both the comp plan and the strategic plan. So
Interesting.
I wanted to just give you that before we start.
That's good context. Thank you.
Okay, so the first element that was presented in there was the business retention and development. Outcome 1 was identified in actions 1 and 6. So I wanted to provide information that the businesses in the city, they are tracked through community data called ESRI. It tracks the data by categories. So we have that every year. It's updated every year. So we can provide that to check, how our businesses are moving. We currently have about 1,400 in the city. And then formally engaging, the first action was to formally engage the business community on monthly or quarterly basis to improve economic conditions. So we do retention visits, weekly or biweekly and monthly, which is visiting the businesses throughout the city, seeing what their issues and challenges are. It's an opportunity for me to learn more about what our businesses are, who they are, what they're doing, what their challenges might be, and it's an opportunity for them to let me know if there's any resources that we can provide them, either locally, state resources, county resources, and it also provides for me, as we're talking to different businesses, if there are trends emerging. And I think Dr. Robinson mentioned earlier about staffing. That clearly is a trend that's emerging that everybody is having issues with, especially our restaurants. So we have been doing some work with CareerSource Pinellas on that issue, and they've been good about providing some training. They do some job fairs and things like that. But that's a major part of what we do to keep track of our businesses. And then Action 6 was supporting business development activities in special investment zones. We have 2 in the city. We have our CRA, and I provided the annual report to you to give you more information. I don't know if you're familiar with the CRA. You are? Okay. It's primarily in the downtown area. Resources are provided through the property tax revenues. And we also have a federal qualified opportunity zone. Through the CRA, the way we provide support for our businesses, primarily through our 4 grants. We have a facade grant, a restaurant grant, a building code grant, and a mural grant. Over the years, since 2011, when those started, we've had 116 projects, 650,000 in grant funds, and about 4.1 million in private investment that the businesses have put in. We have also purchased property, sold property, beautification elements, all of that is part of the CRA. The Federal Opportunity Zone, that was started in 2017. It was a program of the Treasury Department. It came out of the Federal Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and it was a way to encourage businesses and financial institutions and developers to invest in low-income census tract areas, essentially. In Tarpon Springs, our Opportunity Zone runs from Klosterman to Tarpon Avenue and from US 19 to Alternate 19. So the way it works is, say you get a windfall of money and you want to invest it somewhere. So opportunity funds are established within these zones. The money in those funds can only be used in those zones. So you can deposit your money into a federal opportunity fund, and then depending on how long you keep your money in that fund, you can have your capital gains taxes either reduced, deferred, or eliminated completely. And I know we have a couple funds here in Tarpon Springs. I'm not really privy to the banks and how they might be used, but we have some projects certainly that could use those funds. Action 3 is working in regional coordination. Obviously we work with all of the different economic development organizations in the county, and I've listed them there. Action 4 is utilizing tax incentives. We do have 2 tax incentive programs in addition to the Opportunity Zone. We have an ad valorem tax exemption program and a historic tax abatement program. The ad valorem tax exemption program provides a city property tax exemption for new businesses or expanding existing businesses who are creating jobs here in the city. It's guided by Florida statutes. We had to hold a referendum in order to even get the project going. The referendum was in March 2019, and the board approved it in 2020, the next year. So a business can receive 100% abatement of their city property taxes for up to a 5-year period. If they're an eligible business, which is primarily in manufacturing or a targeted industry or an office, they have to create up to 10 to 25 jobs, and those jobs have to be paying a family supporting wage, which is identified as at or above the average wage in the Pinellas County region, which right now is about $50,500. So I've tried with several companies to, get this program for them. Unfortunately, we tend to attract smaller businesses. They haven't been able to either meet the wage criteria or the number of employees, but we'll keep trying. And the Historic Tax Abatement Program, that provides a 100% tax abatement for both the city and the county property taxes on the value of improvements that you make to a historic building in the historic district. And we have been able to utilize that twice. The Old Glorious Church at 160 Reed Street has that exemption. That's the one that was owned by the Beckles at one time. And then St. Somewhere, which is now Unrefined Brewery, when St. Somewhere purchased the building and redeveloped it, they received that exemption. And the exemption goes along with the building, so Unrefined now gets those benefits. And Action 5 was providing direct financial assistance. Again, those are the grants that we offer. And Action 7 was direct services and training for the business community. We work closely with Small Business Development Center, with Pinellas County SCORE. SBDC has a local representative here at St. Pete College, and I know he has office hours at the chamber, I believe, on Wednesdays, so it's good for our local businesses. And they provide training, it's free of charge, and lots of different services. For Economy and Jobs 2, Green Market Development, that outcome was green gas intensity. I know there was a comment made on that. The actions 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are all policy, so I'm not really, weighing in on those things. And they can also, likely be accomplished through the comp plan process. Action 5 is partnering with other governments and community groups to increase demand for green products and services. I think increasing demand for green products and services has a lot to do with educating businesses and people on the importance of using those types of products. I think people like to go to businesses that are using eco-friendly materials, restaurants that aren't giving them these big giant plastic takeout containers. So I think the education part is a big part of that. And right now I'm working with a company in Clearwater that's looking to relocate. They're expanding and looking to relocate to Tarpon Springs in the Riverbend Business Park. They're a company that provides and they don't manufacture, but they supply eco-friendly products ranging from restaurant, janitorial, office, cups. Their specialty product is a shopping bag made out of sugarcane and bamboo. They have a plethora of different types of supplies. Part of their business plan is they offer education to other businesses to let them know what they can do. They offer them special free opportunities to use some of these products so that they can try them out. So whether they relocate here or not, and I'm hoping that they will, I'm planning on following up with them to see what we can do together to try to bring that together as an educational component to our businesses. Action 9 was green business promotion. That's another thing that's very doable for us. I've talked with some other cities that have relationships with Ocean Allies, and does the promotion for the city. Some have voluntary programs where they have put criteria together, working with their chambers on things that businesses can do to be sustainable, and then depending on how many of those criteria the business accomplishes, they get like a window sticker that says that they're a sustainable business. I know our chamber has a program for businesses of the year. Maybe there's an opportunity to have a sustainable business of the year. So there's lots of opportunities, and I welcome ideas from all of you as well. And I think working with Robin, we can come up with a nice program that maybe is a starting point for getting our businesses more involved in doing things. Because I know some of them are already, and they want to. So I think there's a couple that we can lean on that will help us lead the charge to encourage the other businesses to do the same. EJ3, local economy. There was no outcome listed, but that talks about purchasing preferences for local products. I know procurement has a preference in their bidding procedures for local products, so that may fulfill that. And then additional actions that they weren't included in what was targeted in the plan, but I just wanted to note there was action 4 about creating and supporting programs to shop local and buy local. This is something that we do ongoing. Both economic development and cultural services work together to do the city advertising and marketing. In 2020, in the summer when COVID was starting to wane a little bit, we did a Rediscover Tarpon Springs to get people back and shop local. This year, starting now this month, we received funding from the BOC as part of the ARPA funds to do a campaign. That's going to be going on from May through the summer. Again, this time we're targeting the 5-county area and families and trying to bring them into Tarpon Springs, again, to eat, shop, play, enjoy everything that the city has to offer. We have billboards at St. Pete Clearwater Airport. We've had those for quite some time. We also have billboards on I-4 and I-75, and we recently updated those to make them a little bit more vibrant. And now this year, with this campaign, for the first time, our businesses have been asking for visibility at the Tampa airport. So because we got these additional funds, we have digital, very exciting digital ads that say Explore Tarpon Springs in the concourses. I think it's A and C, the ones where most of the people go through, and then in the baggage carousel area. So we're going to see what that. We're also doing some digital advertising using geofencing. We've got some ads in some parenting magazines, and then we're going to be doing social media, Facebook, and the like. So if you see our Explore Tarpon Springs ad pop up, because it'll pop up in any website that you're looking at if you have done anything to type in Tarpon Springs or Sponge Docks or anything that has to do with tourism-related things. And then Action 5, I think we already talked about. EJ4 is quality jobs and living wages. Outcome 3 was identified, demonstrating income inequality decreasing over time. We do have extensive data available to us. Pinellas County has a business intelligence specialist that supports all of our municipalities who don't have our own research departments. So they can provide, and they have provided unemployment numbers, employment numbers. It can be broken down by race, by ethnicity. We've got income levels by race and ethnicity, household. We've got a lot of information. So anything that we might be needing, we can get for you. And I think the last unemployment rate that they had was May of '21, and I just have the overall, but it was 4.4% in Tarpon Springs compared to 12.9% in 2020, which, COVID. And the employment rate went up to 95.6% this past year from 87.1%. But again, we can get that broken down also by ethnicity, so that's something that we can track over time. The other actions that were identified, again, are policy and code related, so that would require discussions with the board. EJ6 is workforce readiness. That was equitable workforce mobility. For that, I believe information would be available from St. Pete College. I'm sure that they track post-secondary degrees that are presented. The library has a high school program that I think you're aware of. But we can check with St. Pete College for information on that. So that kind of sums up the additional comments to that section. I did look through the rest of it, and I found under Education, Arts, and Community, because I do some historic preservation work, that Action 6 and 7, we are a certified local government and have been for quite some time. That's why we get some of the grants that we get. And we do have the Historic Tax Abatement Program for Action 8. So that can be added into the overall mix. So with that, and there's one other thing I want to just mention. We are getting I don't know if I want to say our first ecotourism business, because we've got the dolphin boat tours, and I think you could consider that. But a company called River Wild Kayaking is coming. They're opening up soon. They're going to be launching off north of the Bridge Lounge. I think that you know about it. They are in partnership with the National Classroom Institute, or Classroom Initiatives. They are going to be going east, they're going to be going east from there. So they'll be going into the areas that are more, more wild, if you will. They're not going to be going toward the docks. And so as you're kayaking, they're going to be talking about the importance of mangroves and the importance of seagrasses and identifying different types of species of flowers and wildlife and everything that they see. So we're excited about that because we've been trying to get, ecotourism going in the city. So we're hoping that this maybe will be a jump start for
When are
some
they
other ones.
coming?
They are going for final approval Tuesday at the board, and they've got relatively little to do on the site, so I would expect they'd be opening up, if not later in June.
Near the bridge.
Yes, that little area that people fish off of, the Bridge Lounge, you just go north, kind of under the Anclote Bridge on the east side. It's a vacant lot right now, that's cement. They're going to be doing some improvements to it. They're going to have three kayak trips a day for up to 8 to 10 people.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you for all of that. I was taking some notes because I want to make sure that some of the things that you mentioned that we did not capture as action items, but the city's already doing, that we include that. Similarly, when the police department presented So what I captured was EJ, for EJ3, Action 4 is where the city's already doing that. So just want to make sure that we got that. If there is anything else that I missed, then let's make sure we add that. I'm going to open it up for questions.
Karen, there may be a little miscommunication between our committee and your department. You focused on a number of actions in EJ1, economy and jobs, that we haven't selected to be in our, we selected 1 and 6, that's all. But
Right, yeah.
if you look at the objective areas in this section, which is economy and jobs, we focused on green market development, and there we chose the most actions, actually more actions than the entire rest of the section. Well, okay, I need some help here, because EJ2, outcome number 1, you said actions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 can be addressed during the comprehensive plan process. Specifically, how does that happen? How is that going to happen?
Well, excuse me?
Well, we also have another guest at today's meeting, Miss Caroline Lanford from our Planning and Zoning. She is a very good contact for comp plan questions.
Yeah, let me check the green jobs.
Would you like to hear from her now or during the staff comments?
I'd like to ask Ms. Lemons these questions that I have for now.
Okay,
Because, I mean,
so-
I'm responding to what she gave us, so I think it's appropriate to
Okay.
ask her.
Yeah, action 1 was to amend local economic plans and strategies to focus market demand for green jobs, technology, and projects. So again, we're putting that economic development element into the comprehensive plan. So that's what we can, that addresses plans and strategies to focus market demand for projects, or
Well-
for products.
Okay, is that something that you will take to planning and zoning? I mean, are you going to take these actions to planning and zoning and to the consultants to see that they are included in the comprehensive plan? Because in this area of economy and jobs, this is the most important area in terms of at least numerical to us. And I don't understand how it's going to get done. I'm confused about that.
Well, we're hoping it gets done. Number 2 is adopting policies and regulations. Number 3 is reviewing and amending zoning regulations. So all of those things. Number 4 was establishing regulations or zoning that incentivize district-scale sustainability projects. So yes, all of those things are things that we're going to be talking about, and I'm sure they're talking about it anyway in the comp plan, but it can also be addressed in the economic development element of the comp plan. Because those are all policy changes. Those are things that would need to be addressed, put forward, discussed, and included. I mean,
Can I ask a follow-up that maybe would help? Do we currently have an economic development plan that's written out?
we have a downtown redevelopment plan, and we have a CRA master plan, and we have a special area plan. So the economic development element to the comprehensive plan will be the first overall plan that we will have. So that's why that's an important process moving forward.
Okay.
In action number 5, you said Pinellas County is the lead agency in the region. This action also, in this case, you said will be addressed in the comprehensive plan process. That sounds more positive. Is there a distinction there for action number 5 that,
I didn't mean any distinction that will or won't. The reason I answered that a little bit differently is that we are already working with those agencies and doing things together with them. Whereas with the other ones, these are all code and zoning regulations that will have to be addressed in both the comp plan and the economic development elements.
okay. EJ4, outcome number, you says 3, but I think you mean 1 because you're talking about median family income. We're not, in putting this forward in our sustainability plan, we're not looking for data. We're not asking for data.
Okay.
We want to know what policies and procedures are in place in the city government that will allow this to come to fruition.
Okay.
And the same with EJ6. We're not looking for data. We don't want data from St. Pete College. We want to know what policies and procedures exist that will allow this to have, to have some guts to move forward. And if policies and procedures are not there, we need to know.
We need to create them then.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I understand that perfectly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Those are my questions.
Okay.
I have a couple questions as well. So I understand that we have like economic development plans for the CRA, but is there a plan to create an economic development plan that would be citywide?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So when is, I guess, can you give me a little more information about that? Because maybe some of this can go into that, right?
That would be the element that's being created. That's a citywide policy, as opposed to just the CRA or opposed to the special area plan. That's citywide.
That's the piece of the comp plan element?
Right.
Or, okay. Okay. And then you mentioned targeted industries in one of the things. Do we have like a list of targeted industries for Tarpon Springs? I mean, obviously like tourism, I would think, and probably the fisheries that, the fishing industry.
Yeah, our industries really are, well, tourism, but that a target industry, like definition, is really clusters of industries that are working together. So our target industries would be the marine commerce. We have, I think, more than we did when we did the economic analysis of the marine commerce industry. I think there's more than 50 marine commerce-related industries on the north, primarily on the north side of the river, but some are on the south side. From dredging companies to boat repair and boat services, and then also the medical industry. From we have the luxury, I'll say, of having the hospital here. So from the hospital comes clinics and other doctor offices and things like that. So those are the two main clusters that I would say would be our targeted industries. When we talk about the grants and things like that are coming from, the county, they have their own list of targeted industries, which ours fall into.
Okay. For EJ4, Action 2. Let me find it. Just let me-
Okay.
Okay, so enact family-friendly workplace policies. Do we have that currently? And if not, how do we go about looking at things like teleworking so that, to me, that would be if folks could telecommute 1 day a week or 2 days a week, that would drastically reduce, well, not drastically, but it would reduce greenhouse gas emissions because they're not having to drive to work, right? So do we have those policies? If not, how do we change that?
Those policies would probably come through recommendations from HR to the city manager to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
I know we had temporary policies during COVID
Right.
that really changed a lot. I think people realize that you can work from home and get a lot done. Sometimes even get more done because you're home and you're thinking about things at 9 o'clock at night and you start working on it. But yeah, all of those types of things are things that would have to go through HR to the board.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody else have? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
spending some
Appreciate
time
it.
with us and sharing all that's happening. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
Thanks, Karen.
Karen, thank you, and I just want to add, she put a lot of work into compiling that information for you. She is definitely tuned in to what the Sustainability Committee is interested in accomplishing and is working with her cohorts around the county to help us do that.
I would also like to add, please keep in mind our sustainability staff team. We gave them the STAR framework and we also made it very clear which outcomes and actions you've selected, but we also asked them to indicate if there are things also that fall within STAR framework that they are currently doing so that we can compile that and note it and then potentially include that in the plan, because if we're already doing it, we might as well keep a log. That's kind of the mentality there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was throughout the whole discussion. It would be like we didn't know if we were doing that or not. So part of it is, here's what we're interested in. But we need to have follow-up on this. So I appreciate your thoroughness and showing it, or letting us know all those things, Karen. It's great.
All right, moving along to the next item, sustainability budget.
While Robin's doing that, I just want to take a minute and introduce Thomas Kiger. He's come before us before. He's the Assistant Public Services Director now, and I've wanted him to come and observe another meeting. He's going to be helping out with various things. He's got a great technical background, so he's going to be continuing to support Robin on things like the greenhouse gas modeling and any other things that we can do. So I just wanted you to know he's here, and he's here to help us.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I don't have to find it.
It's on the bottom left, though. It's that one.
There we go.
Doing a brief presentation for you all about our sustainability budget. Budget request for fiscal year 2023. So to get started on the budget planning, I first met with other cities and their sustainability coordinators to get insight as to their sustainability budgets, how those are laid out, what the rationale was. A really good example is the city of Oldsmar. They have an established sustainability program of several years. So I met with Ashley Painter of City of Oldsmar to discuss their budget. And so for their case, as you know, they're a similarly sized city. Their sustainability department is laid out a little bit differently. They have in terms of budget, the sustainability budget is also merged with the environmental management budget, and it's called the environmental budget. So what I did is, for reference point, I separated out the sustainability budget with Ashley's help from the rest of the environmental budget to make it more relevant to us here. So in doing that and tallying up the line items related to sustainability, they have operated with around a $12,000 annual operating budget for sustainability for the past several years. For the current fiscal year, they did have a one-time approval of an extra $60,000 for a wind classification and flooding CIP project, but that is not their normal budget. Their normal operating budget is around $12,000, including categories for travel, sustainability memberships, EV charger maintenance, promotional activities, departmental supplies, education, and training. Similarly, I also met with the City of Dunedin Sustainability Coordinator, Natalie Gass. They do not have a current established sustainability budget, but they are working on also pursuing one, as we are. But they did put forth a plan for a budget in 2021 and are planning to put forth a similar proposal for 2023. Very much focusing on promotional activities, education, events, so similar to Oldsmar's breakdown. So they put forth a request of around $10,000, including similarly memberships, conferences and travel, training and workshops, education and outreach, promotions and giveaways, software events, even an intern position, and EV maintenance as well, and different projects and partnerships. So, considering this, the reason that we looked at closely at Oldsmar and Dunedin are that they are cities of a similar size. They're similarly a sustainability division of one, and they're have been pursuing their budget for several years. So, I don't know if you can read that. Hopefully, I can try to zoom in, I think. But so given that we put forth a proposed budget for fiscal year 2023, it has yet to undergo the full review process. But we included similar categories, including memberships, conference and travel, general operational expenses like printing and binding softwares, communication services, but we also put the emphasis on promotional activities and promotional giveaways, education, and outreach. That was the majority of the budget put forth. And then additionally, EV charging station submeters, so that we can better track the usage of our new EV charging stations. Are there any questions?
What's the car wrap of the Nissan? What's that?
So the city purchased, they had put in the budget for this current fiscal year for 2 Nissan Leaf EV vehicles, and we now have those vehicles. And so we want to wrap it with the new sustainability logo once we have that done. Yes.
We see it as a promotion on wheels.
That's
I mean,
great.
we really want to
That's a super idea.
get some mileage out of that, if I can use that pun.
So there are other expenses, for example, your salary and phone and computer thing. Now, where is that? Because that's not in this budget.
Yeah, the idea for the sustainability budget was for it to be the operation of the sustainability program, but not to include the salary for a sustainability coordinator position. I did put in there communication services for city cell phone. Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the laptop was already included in this year's budget.
Yes, I want to add to that. One of the things you'll notice is, for example, sustainability positions are funded out of multiple sources. Utilities has a fair share of the funding, and it makes sense when you see the greenhouse gas presentation we gave that most of it is from utilities operations. So there's a real justification for that. I also want to mention that you don't see big projects in here. It doesn't mean we're not doing any projects. It's just generally those things, and we met with the finance director on the best strategy for this, but those things were generally funded out of, that's the budget that it'll show up in, and generally they're managed out of those budgets. So, for example, we're going to be doing a solar expansion at the RO facility. That's fully a sustainability project, but it shows up in that utilities budget for the water plant. We have talked to Ron about coding these CIP and other projects with a sustainability type of designation so that we can query that list and get a total of here's what we're spending on sustainability. So that is in the works to come back. So I think Robin, this was her concept to get this going, and she really put a good start together. And if you notice that first slide, she said, you know, what was the phrase you used, in development or draft or something, but this still has to go through the process.
Thank you. I think it is really important that we see all of the funds that are being spent for sustainability to show what the city's doing and that it's committed financially to that. Because this looks pretty meager, right? Oh, Tarpon spending $1,000 for sustainability, where we're spending much more for substantive things. Thank you.
What is the EV charging station cost for? What is that? What does that entail?
So we would like to purchase EV charging submeters. We have currently I think we have 2 city EV charging stations, one at City Hall, one at the RO plant, and we're looking into installing additional chargers, but we'd like to see what the actual usage is of from among the employees and eventually community members, because as it is right now, there's no meter, so there's no way to track the usage. So that would be useful information to have to see if we need more, how many more we might need. If they're not being utilized enough, maybe we need to do more education to, or an incentive program to get people to use them, or maybe purchase an EV.
Well, is the $1,740 to purchase charging stations, or is it for some other cost?
Those are for the sub-meters for 3, that's an estimated price for 3 sub-meters for 3 different charging stations.
Okay, I'm lost. What's a
These
sub-meter
monitor the
usage?
current,
Track.
You monitor,
on each
current
charger,
usage?
so you can
Like
track
the-
how much power is being
okay,
utilized.
and these are level 2 chargers.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
So when I saw this, I was like that. I kind of what Carol was saying. It seems like a pretty small amount, and I get that like bigger projects clearly aren't on here because we're trying to do a seawall around the bayou. That's not on there clearly, but it still seems kind of small. And I get that like we have to request it, and it's like subject to change. But it seems like there's not a lot of wiggle room in there. You know what I mean? Like to get anything, to get any like substantive change, there needs to be money and resources and time thrown at X thing, like endangered species. The ones who do the best are the ones who have the most resources put into the rehabilitation. So like, I feel like we could maybe ask for more. And I get that it's like, it's a request and there's other projects that'll be going on, but what happens when, halfway through the fiscal year, we're like, oh, there's no money in here. Oh, we got to save that for something else. Like, even if $500 taken out of a few more projects, that might double the budget, Just my thoughts. It seemed kind of small. And I went through the budget for the city, and it doesn't look like there's a ton of wiggle room in there either. But I don't know, maybe we could take a little bit away from certain projects, certain select things. I don't know what that would entail. Like, we'd have to ask the Board of Commissioners, like, hey, can we, take $100 here, $500 here?
Robin, with this list of what you have here, is there something that you were wishing you could put on there that you didn't? Is there something that you feel is lacking? Because you're the one who's gonna have to use the funds or be with or without. Would more funds be helpful to you? Were there things that you did not put in there? Or did you work with finance and they said this is a good number for you to start with, or a blend, or what are your thoughts about this number? Does it seem meager to you, or okay, or what?
So I was heavily involved throughout this whole process for, reaching this number, and I met with finance, and we worked together and put forth, a list, and worked with, Paul in our public services department. I worked with several different individuals and, met with the other coordinators, heard about what they use their budgets for. So I do feel like this number would hopefully be a reasonable number that we're putting forward that would be more likely to receive the full funding. That's kind of the mentality there. And I think it would be a great starting point for us, coming from nothing.
Thank you.
to
And it's more than
this
Dunedin
number.
and more than Oldsmar.
That's right.
Right.
It is.
And I'd also like to remind you, there's some other things going on, like and Robin probably knows more about this than me, but there's a tree assessment happening, and that's going to be funded out of the arborists department. So there are some other sustainability direct study type things going on. They're just not shown here because they're not something that is going to be managed by Robin directly. The other departments are doing things. She's going to be coordinating with them, but In other words, this isn't the only sustainability studying even going on in the city in addition to the projects.
So is this a one-year request, or is this going to be a line item on the budget? Or do you have to request every year and come up with what you want?
Paul, do you think you can answer that?
Sure, yeah, this is part of an annual process, just like any other division budget. The sustainability budget would be reviewed each year, and staff would put recommendations together, review it with the committee for input, just like we're doing now. I think it's a great start, and I know the city manager supports us starting, with a new budget division. So, yeah, I think it's just the beginning, and I think it's a great way to get things started. I could see down the road if there's a study that Robin thinks particularly is important that she wants to manage for the sustainability program, we would propose it in this budget. Or services or something like that that would directly relate.
And I just like to point out, so we did, last year, we were asking for like budget items. We were asked by the Board of Commissioners for a list, and we put together, conducting the local climate risk and vulnerability assessment, Whitcomb Bayou project, the strategic action plan, final production, public engagement, greenhouse gas emission baseline, and then reduction action plan, developing a plan to restore and maintain natural lands, develop an urban forest management plan. So we had like a whole list of things. So maybe it would be good to, I like the idea of like tagging so that we can see what all of the things that we kind of looked at are being done so that we can kind of go back and assess. And it would also be good to hear with the ARPA funds, like where the money was spent, and what of that is towards sustainability efforts, because we did go through kind of and make a wish list at one point.
What was
And
our number?
the total was
More
Santa,
than-
Santa
more than that.
Claus-ish. I mean,
100,000 or something?
yeah. I mean, just doing the climate risk assessments, 200,000 is what we had tagged, but we got funding for that through the state that I'm sure Paul's going to talk about later. So, so yeah, I think it would be good just to kind of be able to see where we were thinking, and then to go through this exercise again next year. We should have the plan in place, and then we can start looking at implementation, and then looking at the budget for that. But again, I think it's all of those actions, not all, but most are going to go out through other departments that won't necessarily be housed under this particular budget. So,
To Taylor's point, if something comes up that you feel that you really want to happen, and maybe it's, a matching grant or something like that, or an opportunity that comes up that you're not aware of, first of all, it might be a year or so out. You can also, next year, look towards either amending this budget for a specific project, or else asking for a special request from the commission, maybe saying this came up, we didn't know about it. So I know that there's, and grant opportunities, there are other things that are possibilities, because I feel what Taylor's saying, that, you want it to be a robust startup and whatever, but, yeah.
I get that you got to be realistic too and kind of get started somewhere and then see what else we might need. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's pretty thorough too.
Yes,
I like
it
the
is.
itemization.
Robin, what is the SSDN annual conference?
That is the Southeast Sustainability Directors Network, comprised of municipal sustainability employees throughout the Southeast.
And the second one is the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Leadership Conference, annual meeting.
Yes, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council Annual Leadership Summit.
You will be attending both of those, I take it?
Yes, and I had the opportunity to attend both this year. So I went to the SSDN conference in Savannah, Georgia. I was going to talk a little bit about that in my staff comments. It's a fantastic opportunity to learn from other sustainability professionals working in municipal government and hear what they're doing and how they've overcome different obstacles, and just hear their advice and make some great contacts as well.
I think it's absolutely essential for someone like you in your position to attend conferences like that every year. It's, you know, absolutely required, absolutely essential. That's great. Good.
All right, so then, I don't think you need any action from us, right? This is just what you intend to present to the BOC?
Right. But I did want to hear your feedback, so thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you for that. Moving on, I guess you can just stay right there to give us the update on public engagement.
Yes, I just have to grab my other notes. So as you know, let me scroll down a bit. We have been undergoing our public engagement initiatives since the very beginning of March. We've had some great progress in terms of survey responses. So far, when I checked earlier this afternoon, we've received 126 responses online and then several paper copy responses, around 10 of those. So we have so far around 136 survey responses, and I'm hoping to increase that number significantly at our sustainability workshops. We're going to encourage participants to take the survey on their way out if they haven't already. And we're hoping to be able to have some great participation at those workshops. I sent out the finalized workshop schedule in last month's public engagement update email. But just to reiterate when that is, our first one is this Saturday. It will take place at the Recreation Center main hall from 12 to 2 o'clock. Our next one will be the following Tuesday, the 24th, also at the Recreation Center, same location, also 12 to 2 o'clock. And our final one will be Thursday, the 26th, at the Heritage Museum at Craig Park. That one will take place in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. So we have been planning for those. We hosted a facilitator training to train our facilitators and make sure that they're very familiar with the STAR framework, with our goals, to make sure that each roundtable discussion is being facilitated in a similar way. And all 3 workshops will be conducted in the same fashion as we discussed, and we will have food present at the workshop. We will have a children's table and activities for children as well. So we have been advertising them as family-friendly workshops. We've definitely put forth many different actions to try to spread the word on both the survey and the workshops, including attending various events. As you know, the Sunset Beach Concert Series, First Friday, the recent beach cleanup at the Sunset Beach, 2 different Earth Day events. Those are some examples. Knowledge and Nibbles series, and we've been partnering with many different departments to help spread the word even further. The Recreation Center has been taking our flyers with them to all of their events since the beginning of March. Karen Lemons has done an excellent job of spreading the word with the business community. She's brought our flyers to their in-person meetings of the Merchants Association, and she's sent them out in emails to her listserv of businesses and her monthly newsletters. We have put information about the survey and workshops and the March and April news and notices section of the utility bills. Done multiple Facebook posts on the City Hall Facebook, the City library and recreation Facebook pages have also shared several of our posts. And then we've reached out to different organizations directly to help ask them if they could help spread the word. For instance, the CAP Center, Hispanic Outreach Association. I attended a Peace for Tarpon meeting. That was great. We had our Earth Day celebration, which I'll talk about more in a minute, but that was an excellent way to engage with the community and get some interested people to take our flyers. We did our newspaper article, as you know, and have put the flyers everywhere we can in city facilities, including the bulletin boards out front and in the main entrance, and at the recreation center, at the library, wherever possible. We also had our flyers present at the recent Whitcomb Bayou MLK public meeting. I have emailed it to every HOA in our master utility email list. I put the flyers in the visitor center to engage with the Merchants Association. I walked the sponge docks, handed them out to businesses, as we talked about. Not all of them, there's a lot, but I did several and got some good engagement. Our flyer was present. I got in touch with Advent Health, and they had it at a free community of health screening event. They had our flyers present. I know Dory Larson recently brought flyers to a church event and engaged a little bit with Tarpon Elementary's community liaison. And so those are just some of the actions that we have taken to engage with the community. We'll be doing our workshops beginning this Saturday, and hopefully I will have many more survey responses to bring back next time. Are there any questions so far?
I just want to say that's a lot.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I
Like,
hope
that
you're
is
getting the sense how much work.
Tremendous amount of energy that you have put forth to make sure that the community is aware. So kudos to you for a lot of work.
Thank you.
I will say Robin as well has worked to get an intern that's going to be starting on Monday to help with, it's a summer type program. So this will help us, good timing to help us with the community engagement and getting started on the report.
Yes, that will be excellent. She'll be starting on Monday, and she'll be at 2 of our 3 workshops. She'll help with the next phases and the beginning steps of the sustainability plan, help with our greenhouse gas inventories and various projects. So we'll be happy to have her.
Where's she from?
She is a USF student, USF undergrad of environmental science and policy. If it's all right to move on to 5B about our Earth Day, Arbor Day celebration.
Robin, where did you want, you just sent an updated item about the logo. Is that, where are you going to talk about that?
I was going to talk about that in the staff comments
Perfect, okay.
section. Okay, great. So our Earth Day, Arbor Day celebration was a success. As you know, we spoke about it in the March meeting about putting together an event, hopefully for Earth Day, which we were able to do working with the library. We had an event on Earth Day, the 22nd of April. It lasted several hours during the day. We had booths set up. We had a sustainability booth. Our arborist had a booth. We had a water conservation booth. And it was a great way to engage with the community. We had food. We had activities. The library put on crafts for children. I think they had peace flags and painting planters and things like that. And they gave away free seeds. And we had a great turnout. We had about 58 people attend, and during their week-long display that they had at the library for the celebration of Earth Day and Arbor Day, we had our survey flyers there, and all of the departments put out information relating to the environment and sustainability and various concepts. And they noted that over 80 people stopped by the display and took items from the display. So that was some great engagement there as well. And we definitely want to put on the event next year at a much, hopefully, larger scale.
And I would like to just add to that a thank you to the library, because when I did ask, so I had an opportunity to bring some of the survey questionnaires to the Mount Moriah Church. They were having an event. I went to the library and they just printed like 20 copies for us. So I would like to acknowledge and thank them for being a really good partner with us and helping, because I was going to pay for them, but they offered to, so.
Yeah, they've been excellent and doing a great job of collecting our surveys. The majority of our paper surveys have come from the library, or people take it there while they're there, and so they've been doing a great job of that and making sure they have a stack at all times. That's been great. And also the recreation department.
To hear how the city's rallying around all of this. And it's your leadership that's really making this happen. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, we're all a team. Team Tarpon. That's what we call ourselves. Okay, yeah, so moving on to 5C, St. Petersburg Community Feedback Strategy. This was provided by Dr. Mickett as a really great reference point, I thought, for us. The city of St. Petersburg did a recent round of community engagement where they also did workshops and they also did an initial survey. From that, they collected all kinds of data of many different, vast amount of data points, you could say, with various things that the community wanted to see in their plan going forward. So what they did to make that actionable is they then categorized the feedback that they received into main categories, then put that forward in a second survey, sent that back out to the community and asked them to basically rank out of, broken down by different sections. If there was 30 ideas listed, asked them to rank, I think it was their top 10. And after doing that second round, they were able to come up with a much more focused list of action items to pursue in their plan. So I'm not sure how much feedback we will receive from our workshops. Hopefully, we will also receive a lot of excellent feedback, and this could be a strategy for how to make that feedback actionable. And Dr. Mickett, if you'd like to add anything.
Well, I attended the first one. It was on Zoom, and it was, a lot of people attended. And then they had experts talking, and then people, answered. It was the Foundation for a Healthy St. Pete that sort of administered the whole thing. And the mayor was there and spoke, and it was very impressive. And how many people were involved, and how high quality the participants were. So I thought it was just an incredible model of how to do this.
Something I noticed on the output from that was they used a diagram, and I've seen Carolyn working with a similar thing for the strategic plan, where they put a bunch of words, and then the size of the font reflected the weight of how many people were saying this, and that's really an effective. Once I figured out what was going on, I was like, oh, that's pretty neat.
Like the one that had electric buses and bike paths and solar programs, the biggest thing was got rid of straws.
Yeah, surprising results.
It's a very interesting way to present information. It grabs you.
Well, their city council passed a number of years ago to get rid of the straws. So that was something that was a big citywide
Then I think the state preempted it, but
Yes, they did.
They did, yeah.
anyway.
Yep.
Not to be Debbie Downer, but.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a simple thing, but it really is not. It's a significant thing.
Yeah.
It's something people can do, and it focuses the rest of the public's attention on something.
And business has changed, because I was there a lot during that, and, you know, you'd mention it, and restaurants started using paper straws. I mean, it was really remarkable.
I saw some with pasta straws, like tubular pasta. It was
Yeah,
great because they
right.
didn't wilt.
Interesting.
So another reason for having this as an item for today is just to get us thinking about the various ways that we can take that feedback that we receive from the workshops and then make it something a little more concrete, actionable for our sustainability plan, which it's preemptive thinking because we don't know what that feedback will look like yet in terms of volume or, you know, how many ideas are presented. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that forward to hear how you all felt about that strategy.
I like it. I mean, I think that we should go with it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's kind of like, give us all your thoughts and then refining it and sending it back out and be like, help us organize it.
Great.
And thanks, Carol, for proposing it.
And it's a good way of keeping people engaged, like, you know, you have one and you get, but there's not follow-up. I think people like follow-up, to think that we're still engaged in something, and it's not just a one-time deal.
Speaking of, we did those listening sessions a while back with IFAS. I think it might be good to specifically invite the people that participated in that in the upcoming workshops. So I don't know if we have a record of everybody that participated to be able to provide to Robin, or if you could get that from.
Yeah, you're speaking of like Thomas. Yeah, she's already been working with him a little bit back when we were trying to figure out how to integrate their
Right.
activities with ours. But yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I can try to reach out tomorrow and, you know, quickly get the word out to them.
Because I remember, like, one of the comments was like, well, I hope you guys take action on this, and it's not just us talking for nothing. You know what I mean? So it would be nice to show them that, like, we are trying to do more.
That's a great idea.
All right, any other comments on this item? All right, then let's go ahead and move on to item 6, which is an update on the sustainability plan in a timeline form. And while you're doing that, I remember starting a list, Paul, of people that had engaged with us. There was a gentleman that reached out about wanting to do like walking trail.
Right.
I need to find that list and make sure that those folks, that anyone that engaged with us at any point, are invited specifically to the workshops as well. So I'll make that a to-do for me.
Okay, so to begin talking about the timeline going forward for the SAP, or we're not calling it that, for our sustainability plan, I wanted to start by going backwards and looking at the timeline that I believe was brought forward to you in June 2020. which I read myself as well and got familiar with. And as you may remember, the very top portion highlighted in gray was the layout of the process for the city of West Palm Beach, which we drew inspiration from for Tarpon Springs pathway to completing the sustainability plan. Excuse me. And so this was an initial estimation of the steps that would be involved and the timeline. Estimated timeline back in 2020, which was kind of the starting point, more or less, of this work. So as you can see, a lot of those actions which were outlined have driven forward the work even to now, and it all still seems very, in my opinion, very relevant to our plan moving forward, and a lot of that is still very relevant in terms of the pathway to achieving the sustainability plan. The month and timeframes were an estimation at that time, and even tallying up those month totals, we're still ahead of schedule. I do also want to point out that in the City of West Palm Beach's plan, as you can see at the very top, they indicated that in year 1, their Office of Sustainability was created, and it wasn't until year 4 that they had their sustainability plan drafted. Given that same time frame of a reasonable time frame, the Sustainability Committee was formed in 2019. So if we were to follow a similar structure by year 4, that would be 2023, which is approaching. That being said, I also spoke with other sustainability coordinators about their timeline to fulfill the sustainability plan. And one that I think is a really great example for us is Dunedin, because they have a similar sustainability office. Natalie Gass is the sustainability coordinator and the Division of 1. And she wrote the plan in-house for the city of Dunedin, which is what we will also be doing here in the city of Tarpon Springs. So I met with her to hear her insights as to her plan, the plan development and schedule. And as you can see, several of her identified pathways are similar to those that we have here. And it's slightly different, but the idea of beginning with a community engagement, robust community engagement section, and then beginning to work on the plan, having various check-ins with their sustainability committee throughout the writing process, meeting with their board of commissioners and so forth, until finally coming up with their finished product. That was basically the flow. And so their initial timeline estimation was 18 months, but in reality, it took them 24 months to go from the very beginning community engagement phases to the final completion of the plan. That being said, a portion of this did take place during COVID, and it was a little bit more difficult to get that community engagement. I do know that was something that they struggled with. So that was also taken into consideration when thinking about our proposed timeline going forward. And also meeting internally with our internal sustainability staff team. We also discussed these steps put forth as potential steps and month estimations. And we have Caroline Lanford is very experienced planner with even sustainability plans. So she has provided some great insight for this timeline as well and necessary steps and can speak to that more. But So, given that, we've put forth this as our tentative timeline and those steps that we foresee being the next steps to completing all the way through the completion of our final version of sustainability plan and executive summary. Beginning with, of course, finishing our community engagement, then collecting, sorting through that engagement, bringing that back to you all, the Sustainability Committee, and then based on that feedback, consider adopting additional outcomes or actions or revising accordingly, and also incorporating that staff feedback that we've heard as well. Then, excuse me, writing the first outline of our plan within the STAR framework, including all of our finalized objectives, outcomes, and actions for each goal area, continuing to meet with our sustainability staff team and with you all to hear your feedback. At that point, continuing to actually produce a first draft of that report, an executive summary draft, reviewing that with you all again, receiving your feedback. One thing that is not here was we had a meeting with our internal staff team, sustainability staff team earlier this week, who suggested adding in an additional step of an initial meeting with the BOC when we're earlier in the drafting process to hear their feedback. So that might be an additional step that we add in. Then after having that feedback, work on the updated or final version of the report to bring to you all. After finalizing that, preparing a presentation that we will give to the Board of Commissioners as our final presentation. Doing that presentation, and I'm sure we'd receive changes that we would then make, then move forward to finalize and distribute our sustainability plan and executive summary. So after speaking with different sustainability professionals who have been through the process, and recently, these are kind of the actions that we've identified as the main next steps. But I'd like to hear your feedback as well.
So it looks like it would take about a year and a half.
On the
Like
lower
added up
end of the
19
spectrum?
Yeah, the high end was like 19 months.
For the higher end, but then the lower end was 11 months.
Closing in.
Well, thank you, Robin, for putting this together, because I was the one that was like, I feel like we're just going and going and going at this, and I want to see like where the light is at the end of the tunnel. So thank you for indulging me and putting this on paper so that we can actually see like what the exact steps are and where we're going and what we're doing. So, I mean, I just thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I mean, I wish we could just have it done in like 3 months, but realistically, like that's not going to happen. So,
But 11 months seems a good time to get all the feedback, and that would be a good, if it could be done in 11 months, I think it'd be really good. And have a final plan to distribute.
yeah, I'm wondering if some of these can run kind of like concurrent.
Parallel.
Yeah. Like getting the draft mostly written and then incorporating the feedback. You know what I mean? Like getting the draft at least like skeletoned and mostly filled out, including like the baseline greenhouse gas data and all of that we already have.
Right. I think we did envision some of these actions running parallel to each other. One of the biggest question marks would be, again, seeing how these workshops go, seeing the amount of feedback we get, if it is sufficient or not. Because if it is not, then we might consider a different approach to community engagement. So that's one question. We could be flooded with feedback and it will take a longer period of time to sort through and compile, or it could be not enough, or it could be a happy medium, which would be wonderful.
Robin, when you are working on these plans, I just lost my train of thought. It'll come back in a minute. Oh, I know. When you're working on the plans for community engagement, what is your goal? What is your ideal golden number that you want for feedback? What would be a good number for the city to where you'd feel like you have good, solid responses, and this is something that, is solid?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of that is pretty, subjective. We're planning for and estimating for 50 participants at each workshop. I'm not sure if we will actually have that, but we will have the capacity for that. It really is something that we'll figure out, and it also depends on what you would like to see, but I would think that if we get feedback, or if we're able to engage with hopefully at least 100 community members through these workshops, I think that would be excellent.
And have you had some good response from the Hispanic Outreach Center too, to get some,
I have not heard back from them.
we need to
I
get
have
you in
reached out
touch.
about 4 times.
We'll get you in touch with them. Because that seems like that would be a really nice, I mean, it's a willing participants. It's an underrepresented group. This is a significant number of our population that it seems willing to participate in civic responses, so. I'll put it on my to-do list. I promise I'll get you in touch with her.
Yeah, that would be excellent. I absolutely agree. But I do think it would be great for our next meeting to take a portion of that meeting to talk about our attendance to our workshops and our final number of survey responses, and then go from there in terms of whether or not we think it is sufficient feedback.
When you publish the final version of the sustainability plan, is that going to be hard copy? And if so, what budget does it come out of?
I think we do want to have it, some hard copies developed, and of course have it online. In terms of budget, I'm not sure how to answer that. That might be a question Paul could better answer.
If you need it out of your budget, you should put it in there.
Yeah, well, actually, I think that's a good suggestion. Because that's an example of something that Robin will be directly controlling. So I don't think the money needs to be a huge amount, but it should be adequate to make the copies that we need. So, yeah, we'll certainly look at doing
Well, I'll
that.
have to figure out who's going to get a hard copy, right? And have an estimate of how many, and you might want to have a cover on it, and, so it's substantial.
On recycled paper.
Recycled paper with water-based
Maybe
ink.
some pasta.
Just don't drink hot tea with the
Yeah,
pasta
right.
straw.
I will say I can further engage with other cities, local cities, about their plans and their engagement to see, excuse me, around what number they were. I do want to keep in mind the size of the city. St. Pete is a large city, and they had a significant amount of opportunities to engage with, being led by the different consultants. So it's kind of a different scenario, but I can definitely do more, continue to do research to make sure that we're kind of at whatever the industry standard seems to be.
It's really hard to get community engagement like that. It seems like it would be so easy, but I hear all the efforts that you've done. It's extremely difficult. And so I respect everything that you're doing for that, but it's like, it would be wonderful to have like 1,000 responses, or, something like, that's like, this is a good solid number, but it's really, really hard to get there, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's a difficult question to answer when you asked it, and my first thought is you'll know it when you see it. And it may not be the number of people, but it may be the quality or
Absolutely.
quantity of the responses, how
Yeah.
deep.
Level of engagement with the
Yeah.
responses and all, yeah.
Well, and as a comparison, the Pinellas County comp plan feedback, there was a number, and there's a number of Pinellas residents, and they found that to be statistically significant to go ahead and use that number. And I think we've already exceeded that, so, right? I mean,
I can't remember what.
Yeah,
the
I think it
ratio-
was, they had about 1,300 survey responses per however a million or so, just under a million residents, whereas we are at about 130 more or less out of 25,000 residents. So yeah, we are at a higher percentage response rate, much higher percentage response rate than the county was.
Wow.
We're at 0.5%.
Yeah.
so there we
Gosh.
go. All right, is there anything else that you need feedback from us on this item? I saw there were some, like, a few additional ideas for components of the plan. Is that for us to discuss tonight, or is that just?
Oh, under considerations. Those were just me thinking about kind of what went into those month ranges, about different things that might impact the timeline. As I mentioned, the community engagement, if we feel that it is sufficient, if the scope of work remains the same, as in if we continue the path forward, or if it's decided to change the concept halfway through, that could definitely influence our timeline. And considering that there's no major edits proposed to the final draft when we go for final approval to the BOC. So those were some considerations I put forward that might impact the timeline there.
All right, well then I think we're set with that agenda item. I'd like to leave room for everybody's comments, so moving on. Where did I put it? I was organizing and I organized myself out of function. All right, so items for the next meeting agenda. So do you want to go through a list of what you think is already like anticipated? And then we can go from there?
Yes. So we will have the Whitcomb Bayou team. They are scheduled to come back to our June meeting. Caroline can speak to this more, but the comprehensive plan would like to do a one-on-one workshop with the Sustainability Committee at our next meeting. And I can give another update about how the workshops went and our final survey number. I also meant to mention, I gave you all another stack of flyers as a last push to, get out the word.
And I would say, I think those 3 items are going to fill us up pretty good.
Yeah, I was just thinking that is a very busy.
How much time can we allot her? Because that could be,
Would you like to speak
The whole
about
meeting.
the
For the June meeting is what we're talking about.
yeah. So I think Caroline can kind of explain what will go into that comp plan workshop at the next meeting.
Hi, Caroline Lamford with Planning and Zoning Department. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
So Robin said that you guys were missing planning and zoning, and trust me, by the end of the comprehensive planning process, you will not want to see me anymore.
We were missing the planning department.
So we are proposing to come and have a one-on-one workshop with you guys at your next meeting. We consider planning and zoning, our planning and zoning board and the sustainability committee, some of our most important stakeholders. So the consultants will be helping us with that. The other boards, we're going to be going just as staff, but we're bringing out the big guns for you guys. So one of the reasons that we're doing that is because we think your feedback is so significant. I'm going to ask you guys to do a little bit of homework before this. I would like everybody to take a look at Florida Statute 163.
163?
163.3177. And what that has in it is kind of our law of the land. Comprehensive planning in Florida is is driven by this law. And you're going to read it and you're going to think, well, wouldn't it be great if they actually followed all of this? Because a lot of it has to do with sustainability. And I could see how someone would read this statute and not think maybe that hasn't been followed in the past. But the statute includes required and optional components of a comprehensive plan. For instance, we don't have an economic development element at this time, but we're going to be putting one in. You know, it gives us general guiding policy-based principles that we need to follow to develop these different components of the plan. So if everybody could make themselves familiar with that statute, I would greatly
And
appreciate
how do
it.
we find it? Just Google it?
Google FS, you don't even have to, Florida statute will help, Florida statute, and then 163.3177.
Okay.
And that is our guiding law, so I would really appreciate it if you could do that. So we're gonna be going through, we're gonna have, like I said, it's a workshop, so we're gonna have a lot of survey-type questions that we're gonna be asking you. We've taken the feedback that we got from the first round of public engagement and kind of narrowed it down. We're still at the fact-finding phase. I would say maybe more like the preference-finding phase. And then after that, after this round of engagement, we're going to be coming back to you. And this one, we're going to have to schedule a whole meeting just for us because we are going to be going line by line, strike through, underline. Some
When
other
do you anticipate that? Like roughly fall?
late fall.
Okay.
But I wanted to address a couple of things that are coming up. So one thing, we have, in addition to the statute that guides us, we, meaning the City of Tarpon Springs Planning and Zoning Department, based on direction from the board, we consider sustainability and resiliency to be a guiding principle of the plan. We're not going to have a sustainability element. Every element is going to have to show us how it's demonstrating the goal of sustainability and resiliency. Some other guiding principles that we have are preserving our past, planning for a prosperous future, equitable health, safety, and welfare, thriving at all ages and abilities, and accessible, strategic, accountable, and proactive governance. So those are some of those principles that are going to be guiding our goals, objectives, policies, and strategies. And that's the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about real quick, hopefully real quick. So the STAR framework has goals, objectives, outcomes, and local actions. Those are things that you guys have identified. So those kind of line up pretty well with what we call goals, objectives, policies, and strategies. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit in preparation to our workshop next time. So as in STAR, a goal is a long-term result that actions and programs are directed to achieve. Objectives are measurable and achievable. So there need to be something that you can measure. The policy defines the standard, intent, direction, or result that advances the goal. And then a strategy is an action, program, or technique that gets us to that goal. So for instance, I'm going to take something from STAR. The goal in STAR would be achieve livability, choice, and access for all where people live, work, and play. Then the objective would be promote diverse transportation modes that are safe, low cost, and reduce vehicle miles traveled. The policy would be, okay, we're going to commit to a Vision Zero policy in our city. And the strategies or local actions that we would take would be adopt a bicycle pedestrian master plan that prioritizes future projects to improve safety and access to non-motorized transportation and connections to public transit. all of that lines in very well with the comprehensive planning process. However, in the comprehensive planning process, that goal would be a little bit more specific. It would probably be geared a little bit more targeted just to transportation, because we are going to have a transportation element. So that's one difference between the STAR framework and the comprehensive planning that I wanted to kind of just go over with you guys so that we can all be prepared. And another thing is, Robin and I, and I think a lot of planning departments across Florida right now, are struggling with what goes into our sustainability plan, what goes into our strategic plan, what goes into our comprehensive plan. There's going to be things that are going to be located in all three. But since we're doing all of these processes kind of at once, I think it's going to work out well. We just have to figure out how those three plans are going to work together. So the strategic plan is going to be those more near-term actions, right? Comprehensive is looking out into the future. And we just need to figure out how we're going to work our sustainability plan with our comp plan. We want them to be, I'm envisioning the sustainability plan being almost like an action plan for the comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan in the city of Tarpon Springs by charter needs to be reviewed every 3 years. So, and the sustainability plan, I envision, I hope, is as a living document that would also be regularly reviewed. So I think it's a good thing that we're running on similar timelines. And then I just wanted to address, you're putting poor Karen on the spot. She's not a planner. So even though she addressed some items that you guys haven't selected for your STAR framework, those may be actions that we put into our comprehensive plan. And they're still supporting what you guys picked. They don't have to be in the sustainability plan, but they may go into either the strategic or the comprehensive plan.
Sure, that makes sense.
So that's pretty much what I have for now. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to make an attempt to answer them.
I just want to say, I think we're very fortunate to be partnering with planning and zoning, at this time. Caroline mentioned it, but the timing is actually very good. I mean, think about the alternative. If this were done 2 years ago, or worse yet, 2 years from now, after we've written our plan, to try to get these things to line up would be very difficult. So I think it's an opportunity, and I think that's a very good question you asked about how these documents are going to be tying together. It's something we've talked about before. I would say I see also our sustainability plan, I keep considering it like a checklist. It's really a way for us to make sure that we're covering these actions, on a regular basis, monitoring it. Whereas every 3 years, you'd be going through the comp plan to look at the big picture. This would be a much closer look at the details of actions and things on a regular basis.
Would it be possible, Robin, for you to send us just an outline of what's been said, just so we have it to look at before the meeting? So even though we've written down the statute, just to have that, and what the 4 guiding principles are, and also the language of goal, objective, policy, and strategy, and with our language, just so we have that in front to reference.
Absolutely. Robin and I can work together and get something to get you in advance.
Thanks.
It's a good idea. Because you are going to be working at this workshop.
Yay. I have kind of broader picture questions. I don't know if you can answer, but in terms of so we've got this stuff in our different plans. What about implementation? How is that going to go in terms of prioritization? Is that the BOC that sets that? Right? Because there's going to be so many things that are make a plan, make a plan, make a plan, make a plan. A lot of the things are make a plan.
I have to keep myself employed. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes to the BOC as to what we're going to implement and when. But in the comprehensive plan, you know, we would say things. Oh, I had a good example of it with something that Karen said. You know, that actually it might be in the strategic plan. That we've got the board on board, right? And they're saying these are our priorities. So, I mean, you always have to prioritize your priorities, but that's where I think it was being said about, you know, using the sustainability plan. I would love to see it as a check on, are we achieving the strategic plan? Are we achieving the comprehensive plan? Maybe not in terms of, you know, quantities for everything, but at least trends. You know, we want this to go up and this to go down kind of thing, and do a check periodically to see if that is what we're doing, and revise from there and see what's working and what's not. But no, unfortunately, I can't put it in the comprehensive plan, and the BOC has to fund it.
Okay. Worth trying. Okay. Well, thank you. I think this is helpful to, so how much time do you think that we need in the next meeting to do this?
We're thinking about an hour and a half.
Okay, so the Whitcomb Bayou team gets 15 minutes and the workshop gets 15 minutes.
I was thinking, I was gonna recommend that to you, that we can make the Whitcomb Bayou team, you know that we're on a schedule, like a 10-minute presentation, giving you all some time to ask questions and things.
Can they send us some preliminary materials? Because that's not much time.
Glad I asked.
Yeah, we can
Planning
make
and
sure you
zoning
have
is
that.
used to staying here late into the night, so.
We're not trying to follow that trend necessarily. But maybe we should plan, though, for the next meeting to be
A little longer.
a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think we need to allot the Whitcomb Bio team more than 10 to 15 minutes.
Do they need to come next time?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
They need feedback.
Right, they need to stay on schedule, and then their next step is going to the Board of Commissioners after meeting with you all.
Could I make a
Oh, I see.
suggestion? Could we maybe start a little bit earlier? Would 5:30 work for people?
I can do that.
I can do that.
I can do that.
So that's the 16th of
We have a
June.
quorum.
Yeah, I will just have to make sure that this room is available a little bit earlier, because sometimes there's another committee that meets right before
Before.
us. But I will double check that and send an email.
Okay, so proposed is 5:30 start for the June 16th meeting.
Usually we put the consultants first, because they're charging by the hour.
Okay.
I'm gonna have consultants too.
Whitcomb
So
consultants.
I'm gonna have consultants too, so I can tell them to I can tell them to show up a little bit later,
Yeah.
so. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so, I mean, I think those are the three items that, I think that's pretty much it, right?
That's going to be the meeting, by golly.
Yeah, okay. So then we're on to public comments. Seeing none. Staff comments.
Yes, so I will be going back to the computer briefly. So I will be going to the BOC meeting coming up this Tuesday, the 24th. We will be bringing forward our logo to hear from the BOC. This is the logo which you all had recommended. We made some additional improvements since the last time you saw it, to the font, to the circle, and otherwise cleaned it up. But our talented recreation staff member who also edited our sustainability videos has come up with another version of the same logo, just in a 2D format to make it a better, how do I explain it? So that it would be better for printing. so that it would be able to be expanded and be more versatile in printing. So it is also being brought forward to the BOC this Tuesday. But we wanted to show it to you first to see if you had any comments.
So when would this be used? We'd still use the other one, though?
We wanted to bring forward both options to the BOC to hear if there's one that they prefer, unless, there's a strong feeling that the second logo doesn't meet the same, I guess, characteristic of the first logo.
Let's look at the first one again.
Can we do side by side or?
A side by side? I think so.
That's so much nicer.
Which one?
The first one, I think. The green in the second one look very much like snakes.
Oh, yeah.
Seaweed.
Yeah,
I could see why you would want the 3-color scheme though for printing to make it easier.
Yeah. I get that too.
I feel like they both have like their place, you know?
When you do the wrap on the card, on the car, the first one would look better. Well, it would.
I'm going to defer to your artistic sense, which is far beyond mine, but I agree with you too. I think the first one's
Yeah, it's
just grabs you
striking.
better.
It pops, It's impressive.
I kind of like the placement of the font on the second one, though. I might be like splitting hairs, but you know,
I like the font on the second one.
how it's like bigger and then the helmet's down here.
It has
I
the
like-
aggressive
I
seagulls.
like the second one too, how the font is at the top and then the helmet down below. That seems like it has a better flow to it than the one on the left. It looks like that helmet's just kind of stuck up there and those words are just kind of stuck up there.
I agree with you. I like the font on the second
So
one.
combine them. Use
Yeah.
the font
Can
on the
we do
second
that?
one and the helmet on the first one, or the helmet on the seagrass on the first one.
Why do we have those birds?
That's
So
part
you
of the
got
new logo.
seagulls.
Oh,
I mean, that they exist in both of them, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I find them distracting, but
they're just more noticeable.
Focus.
Does it matter what we think? The BOC is going to vote on this, correct?
They're going to want to hear what you
Okay.
all think. Yes, for sure.
Just making sure we're not
I
parsing hairs for
cannot
nothing.
predict the outcome, though.
Can we defer to the art committee? No, I'm kidding.
no.
This is our deal.
So I like the idea of combining the two. So putting
I like the grass, actually, the seagrass in the second one, because it looks like there's movement there, like you can see underwater. The first one looks like there's a potted plant just kind of stuck in the
just
back
a
of
little bit.
the helmet.
What about Carol's comment that the second one, the seagrass, looks like snakes? Does
They
it
do
strike
look
you that
like
way?
snakes.
I don't
I
see it
didn't
that
see
way.
snakes at
I
first.
see
I do.
I see
underwater
flowy grass, and I like it better than the first.
Hmm.
I like the blue color though on the font on the first one
Mm-hmm.
instead of the green and the black, and I don't like how bold the exterior ring is on the second one.
I agree with that. I
Getting a
think
lot
it's-
of feedback here. I don't know if you want that much feedback,
But I
but
think the font and the color on the second one is easier to read
It is.
than the blue.
It
If it was
is.
bigger, it might be easier in blue. Who knows?
yeah, is it the size or is it the color?
Maybe
I
both.
like the green. I'm a green person. I like green. So, anyway, I think,
Just maybe take those comments and
But
I
yours-
find it hard to read the image of the
Thank you,
graphic
thank you.
helmet. I had to look at it and figure out, like, what is that? So anyway, those are my comments, and in the end, whatever happens, we'll love. But but the gold would look better on the car.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think the concern was since it's an image. Sometimes when you blow up like a smaller icon like that, when you like blow it, make it larger, it could look pixelated. So that was kind of the concern. But we can experiment maybe with it.
Gotta find the highest def picture of that helmet we can find.
Yeah. This one's just too boxy.
Yeah, I will bring forward your these comments to the BOC this Tuesday evening when we present this idea. It is, I believe, listed as a consensus item, but they might have comments and questions.
I like Dory's comment that the ribbon around the second's too heavy.
Remember your sticker idea? A lot of those stickers have a pretty thick border on
Do
them.
they?
But it could be a little overwhelming on a car.
Yeah, it could. The blue's good.
All right, so we've got guidance on that. Is there anything else?
I did want to mention that the City of Tarpon Springs was selected to receive the Vulnerability Assessment Grant Award from Resilient Florida for $75,000 to complete our vulnerability assessment. Yes.
Do we
so
have a
that's
matching
great.
component to that, or, yeah?
Yes, we're adding 25,000 to it to do additional work, basically, and the consultant is already, on board with what we need to do. So the next step is Robin's going to be our project manager from the city for that, and the technical work will be done by the consultant. And
And what it gets done, what does that mean? Vulnerability, what are we vulnerable about?
what they're going to do is evaluate all of the elevations of the shorelines and
Oh,
and the
okay.
land and the properties and infrastructure, and see what our areas of threat are, and then what sorts of things do we need to be doing, actions, and organized geographically so that future project planning can be done. And hopefully some grant applications can be driven from that analysis.
And that'll analyze roadways as well, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's sea rise flooding vulnerability.
That's correct.
That's really the end of my comments, I believe. On Paul, if you had anything.
No, I think that's probably plenty for you all.
All right. Next item then is committee comments, and I'm just going to jump in and say that in July, and I apologize for not noticing this like months ago, but I'm going to be out of the country on our meeting on the 21st. So I let Robin know, and she did check with stats, the rest of the cities, about other committees and availability of the room and things like that. And it seems like the week before the 13th, right, which is a Wednesday, would be an option. So just want to see if you guys are amenable to moving our July meeting to Wednesday, the July 13th.
Works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, same, in the evening, 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
July what?
So we had planned the trip before COVID, and it was on the calendar with the dates from before COVID. So it was like the wrong week. So I had taken the wrong week off of work and everything. And so, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being flexible, though. Any other committee comments? Biobags?
Yeah, I started just on my own, started putting together a list of green companies,
Oh, yeah.
entities, et cetera, in our area, using the list of 300 members of the Chamber of Commerce, plus the members of the Merchants Association. And I've got everything from Friends of Booker Creek Preserve to Chrysala's Tarpon walking tours to Kokalakis Construction, because they did the carriage homes on Ring, which are green, to Hoffman Architects, because they did both the science building at Booker Creek, and they did the elementary school, which is green. And I came up with some things that are from out of town, one of which is biobags. And I have talked on a few occasions with one of the executives. It's a family company. Biobags is in Dunedin.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's gonna send me some bags that are compostable, which are commercial size. But I went to, I couldn't find an outlet for their stuff in Tarpon Springs. Might be something we could talk about at a future
They
time.
sell it on Amazon.
These are compostable bags, kitchen-sized bags, and I have one in my kitchen now, and I just thought I'd pass them around if you guys want to take one.
Yeah.
If you want to know
I
more about
appreciate you
the
finding
company,
that. This is good.
then you've got the stuff that Robin sent you, which is a lot of information about all this.
Mm-hmm.
And these are biodegradable doggy poop bags, which
Yeah.
I bought at TJ Maxx, and if you'd like one or two, please take them.
Most poop bags are biodegradable.
Yeah.
And if you keep them for too long, they like completely fall apart in your hand.
Is this like this is plant material, isn't it? Corn or something?
Yeah, the resin actually comes from Italy. It's not, they could not find a resin source consistently in the United States.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is plant material, that's right.
So what happens
Pasta.
when
That's all he
this
gets back
gets
to
in the
pasta.
land,
Why is he laughing?
Paul?
Because I said it's impossible.
No, I said it's from Italy. It must be pasta.
Postable. So when these go in the landfill,
Yes,
then the bags fall apart.
breakdown, yes.
And then what's in it,
Great. Hopefully is also, well, it's interesting that I mentioned to Dory's mother like 3 years ago, picking up dog droppings in plastic bags. And she said, now you've taken something that's biodegradable and you've created something that is not biodegradable.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know how biodegradable the average doggy bag is.
it is, it's, they
These,
fall apart.
advertise themselves to be biodegradable, but, I mean,
The
I
poop
mostly
bags
wanted to
do.
talk about BioBag because their company headquarters is just down the road.
Yeah, good idea. Interesting. Here,
So can you put that into like a spreadsheet or some kind of list that we can have and?
The list of companies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
That'd be really.
It's just an initial attempt,
Yeah, but
I
it might be
thought,
something we could put on the
And
website
it's
at some
something the
point.
Yeah.
city
Yeah.
should know about.
It's a good
Yeah. Promote.
resource, yeah. That'd be a good resource.
these
to
feel
have.
really good.
okay,
I
sure.
mean, for
They do sell these on Amazon, so.
I use the brown lunch bags for bear's poop.
You do?
I do.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like the brown,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's incinerated and then at least it's not incinerating plastic and putting all that into the atmosphere.
Yeah. I know our poop bags have always been biodegradable.
Do you get them any special place or,
Amazon.
okay.
dog lovers.
Dog lovers would have them.
Smell
Yeah, dog
The
lovers
ones
has
I
them.
bought at Dog Lovers don't advertise that they're
kinda nice.
biodegradable. Maybe they are and they just don't say it, but these ones are specifically say
Most
they're-
of them that, well, the
Yeah,
ones
that's
I've always
it.
gotten say
Yeah.
that they are,
Mine say that.
yeah.
All right, well, on that note, any other committee comments?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
remember our show, and on Sunday at 3 o'clock, we're giving a talk. It's at Lipa Retner. And then in July, I can't remember the date, I'm going to have a public conversation with Mallory Dimmitt, who's the wildlife corridor person, to talk about, because we're always talk about climate change with respect to oceans or the Gulf, and we're going to talk about climate change with respect to interior waters and what happens there. She's really an interesting woman.
She's an interesting person. Yes, and this
Robin,
past
I don't need
Saturday,
these. I have stuff.
This past Saturday was the Art of Health event. It was an all-day event in Craig Park, a community day, free of charge. The atmosphere was so nice, very relaxing, rather than having hundreds of vendors and, just a kind of a frantic kind of a event. It was very, very relaxed, lots of families, lots of kids, the rec department, the library, Peace for Tarpon, the garden club, the art association, yoga, kids yoga, storybook yoga. And it was just so nice to attend an all-day event, and at the end of it, you just feel calm, and everyone was in a good mood. So I brought some of the flyers and that I got from Robin, and the library had those on their table. But next year, I would recommend that the sustainability coordinator, that we have a table there, because it would be a great opportunity to interact with families. The only other event I've seen more families at is the Touch-a-Truck. And it was really nice. I mean, to get families to come out and do things, it felt safe, it felt relaxing.
It felt
Anyway,
healthy.
it was very healthy. It was very healthy. Mr. Brad, the one-man band, you can't go wrong with him. So,
Okay, excellent. Sounds like a fun day. Thanks for the report back and a good suggestion to have Robin there next
Did
year.
you say how we're supposed to use these?
That was provided by Caroline. And on the back is a QR code
Yeah.
that takes you to more information about the comp plan.
So am I supposed to pass these out to people, is that it?
every
Right.
single one, they're numbered.
What do you mean they're numbered?
She'll know if you don't, Carol.
Thank you,
It's a big
Robin.
responsibility. Look at all these.
I know.
All right, if we don't
My dog.
have anything else then for the
Terrible.
good of the group, then we'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned at 8:06 PM. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see
You
everyone.
want this pen back? Yeah. I was with my
What's
stuff.
up?